Hi, everyone. My name is Lois Campbell. I'm from Morgantown, West Virginia. I'm very happy to be with you today. I am a STEM specialist here in Morgantown, so I work primarily with science, but also some technology and mathematics in our school. I've taught for over 35 years now in Indiana, Utah, Pennsylvania, and now most recently in West Virginia. So what do I do besides teaching? Well, I like to quilt. I'm a big quilter. I've been quilting for many, many years. I also like tennis. I'm a tennis coach here in my school, so I like to play tennis as much as I can. And I also like to go hiking. West Virginia is beautiful. And when I lived out west, and now when I've lived in West Virginia, we have lots of opportunities to go hiking. And I just really, really enjoy the outdoors. So it's been a wonderful place to be living to be able to do that. Today, I just want to remind everyone that we have a number of activities going on. We have a Twitter contest, which the information is there, and you get bonus points. Shout out to your favorite teacher. Hopefully, that's me. To use and use the hashtag Thank a Teacher. We will also have trivia going on. So we have teacher trivia with Facebook Live, and we'll have a Zoom webinar for the Star Wars trivia. So really fun activities for you to do, and I hope you enjoy this particular day that we have planned for you. Today I'm going to be talking about a lab activity I normally do in my classroom. Normally when I'm a very active teacher, as you can see on either side of the center of the board there, I have students who are engaged in laboratories all the time. And I really go for conceptual understanding by engaging them in labs. And one of my favorite labs to do for Earth and Space Science is one that's in the center here that I involve the Promethean board with it when I teach. But I also have the students work on their map skills. And with that, as you can see here, this is a chart. It's latitude and longitude, and one column is for earthquakes, and one column, is for volcanoes. And what I have them do is I have them go along and I have them map the volcanoes and say red, and the earthquakes and say green. And eventually what's going to happen is they will actually be able to see the ring of fire. Now, if I have some students who have some learning issues, I pair them up. They don't have to do this individually, but I will pair them up with someone to help them do the latitude and longitude so that they can see it a little bit differently. But we're in a different state now, different situation, and I cannot have them in the classroom. So I've had to be really creative in how I plan my lessons on the Ring of Fire. So I'm going to show you today how I did that with Promethean, ClassFlow, and also I use Active Inspire software. So when I open up anything for ClassFlow, I'm interested particularly today on using the instant whiteboard. However, with this lesson, I also did something with I created a lesson and I'm doing instant whiteboard. So I have two things going on with my classroom for them to understand the Ring of Fire. So once I click on instant whiteboard, this is what I get. It looks like this when it pops up. And there's a class code for the students to join. And because they are in Google Classroom, and because many of us in our school are already using ClassFlow, once they click on that, they can also just use this code. But if it's the first time, then they'll have to register. So it depends on what you've been using in your school already, but ClassFlow is free for them, and it's a wonderful way to deliver instruction. You can also see down here along the bottom of the board, there's lots of activities for them to be involved with. They can use the texting option or the different pens, which I used in this particular lesson, and then the other options that are down here. Before I started the lesson, you should know that under ClassFlow, there is a resource tab where I would go and I would find information for my classroom. So if I'm in resources or marketplace, here's classes, I went back a screen here. Resources is where I would load anything that I want my students to interact with. So in this case, you saw the map that I had out earlier for the students. I preloaded a map like that into my resources so I could upload it into my instant whiteboard. And you have to do that ahead of time. So it's a little pre-planning on your part to do this. So now my students are seeing the whiteboard, and they really like this activity that they interact with. And so on their screen, now they can see at home, I'm showing a computer screen at home. This is my screen. You can see that I see all my students as they are logging in. And so once they're all logged in, I'm ready to start the lesson. My lesson then popped up like this. I loaded the world map for them, and it looks somewhat like the world map that I showed you earlier. However, I don't have an interactive way for them to map the latitude and the longitude. So I chose to use a different map that already had volcanoes and earthquakes mapped for them, but they don't know what they are. And this actually won't tell them if it's an earthquake or a volcano. But at least we're getting the mapping skills in, and we're learning about the Ring of Fire. So what I had them do is down here on the bottom, you can see I have color green up, and I can change my colors. I asked them to interact with their sheet that they have when they logged in, and I showed them that I wanted to have them map, and this is written in letters and this is written in numbers. So it was like connect the dots for them. So they connected the dots of all the letters in one color. And when they thought they had all the letters connected, I had them go down here to the bottom and I had them switch colors. And then they started over here with number 1. I did direct them in this lesson because it's virtual. The A starts here and 1 starts here. And I told them that the 2 would not connect. I felt like I had to give that extra information. Then after I explained that to them, I clicked on share. And it shared directly to them once they were logged in, and they got their own map to work on. Once they were done with their map, then they were able to share it back to me. They were able to submit it. And once they submitted, then I could see all of their maps populate on my screen. And we were able to, I can click, this is 2 maps laid on top of another one. I can shove them around, I can move them around. And you can see that some of them look a little differently. Not everybody used 2 colors, I will tell you that. But I was able to show them that we have these patterns going on. So we talked about the pattern and what it looks like on this side of the coast. And we talked about the patterns that are happening over here. It did not make it look like my original map in my lesson, but that's okay. I'm still getting to where I need to in this particular lesson. And then you can see this is my ClassFlow Ring of Fire lesson that I was doing. And on the second page of this, I was able to take my students then to, after when I sent the ClassFlow lesson to them, I was able to send them to the Geological Society, which is in the UK, and it's on plate tectonics. And this is a wonderful site to help them understand what's going on. And what you can see here is this is a map, again, of the world. And if you follow along now down the bottom, you can see that my students knew that if I clicked on this button, I could see earthquake distribution. If I clicked on this button, I had volcano distribution, and then I clicked on tectonic plates. And I could click on all of them, and amazingly, you can see that there is similarities throughout here for the students to see. They could see the sections of the plate. They could see this plate. They could see some mini plates that were involved in here. And they could also see where Hawaii is a hot spot in the middle of the plate. So we had a whole bunch of discussions then about what was going on with the ClassFlow lesson, but also how the plates work and how they interact, and how it compared to their original whiteboard picture that they sent to me. And we had a really fruitful discussion about this through my lab activity, my virtual lab activity with them. So hopefully that was helpful for you. I'm going to turn it back over to my colleague now, Katie Marks.